There is a sound that no living thing should ever have to hear. It is the sound of a dry branch snapping, multiplied 1,000 times, echoing from within the bedroom of a screaming victim. This is the sound of SCP-783. This is what happens when the Crooked Man decides you are his next project.
Item number SCP-783. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. Foundation personnel are currently embedded within the local government of the village of Tempsford, Oxfordshire. All residents are to be placed under a mandatory curfew starting at sunset. Any civilian found outdoors after dark is to be detained and returned to their residence immediately. In the event of an SCP-783 manifestation, a perimeter is to be established around the target residence. Local law enforcement has been instructed to assist in maintaining this perimeter under the guise of investigating a gas leak or structural instability. Any vocalizations from within the residence are to be ignored or explained as the sounds of structural shifting.
Any individuals who have been affected by SCP-783, designated as SCP-783-1, are to be recovered following the conclusion of an attack. These subjects must be transported to Site-19 for observation and study. Due to the nature of their condition, euthanasia is currently prohibited by the Ethics Committee until a greater understanding of the anomaly's biological effects is achieved.
Description: SCP-783 is a hostile humanoid entity of variable height and proportions. It is characterized by its extremely elongated and malformed limbs, which appear to possess an impossible number of joints. The entity is consistently observed wearing a tattered dark suit and a wide-brimmed hat that obscures its facial features.
SCP-783 is predatory in nature. It targets individuals within the village of Tempsford, specifically those who are alone indoors after sunset. Witnesses describe the entity's movement as erratic and jerky, often accompanied by the sound of grinding bone and snapping tendons.
The primary anomalous effect of SCP-783 occurs during an attack. When the entity makes physical contact with a human subject, it begins a process of rapid, violent restructuring. Over the course of several hours, SCP-783 will systematically break, twist, and elongate every bone in the victim's body. Despite the catastrophic nature of these injuries, the victims, now designated SCP-783-1, do not die.
Subjects remain fully conscious and responsive throughout the ordeal, despite their bodies being contorted into shapes that defy biological possibility. Once SCP-783 has completed the rearrangement of a subject, it departs, leaving the victim in a state of permanent, agonizing deformity.
Examination of SCP-783-1 instances reveals that their physiology has been fundamentally altered. Their bones have been lengthened and multiplied, yet they remain functional in a way that allows the subject to persist. Victims are often found folded into drawers, wrapped around furniture, or stretched across the floor like living carpets. They do not require sustenance, nor do they succumb to infection or shock. They simply exist in a state of eternal crooked suffering.
Addendum 783-A, Recovery Log. On October 14th, Foundation sensors detected a seismic anomaly originating from the local cemetery in Tempsford. Upon investigation, a large sinkhole was discovered near a cluster of 17th century headstones. Foundation operatives deployed a remote-operated vehicle into the aperture. The camera revealed a subterranean chamber that did not correspond to any known geological formations. The walls were composed of a substance resembling calcified bone. As the ROV descended deeper, it encountered a mass of SCP-783-1 instances. These victims were not merely lying in the chamber, they were woven together.
Dozens of subjects had been braided into a singular, massive pillar of living flesh and snapped bone that stretched downward into an abyss. The subjects' heads were visible at various intervals, their mouths locked in silent screams, their eyes tracking the ROV's light. As the ROV reached a depth of 40 meters, it captured footage of a single, massive hand reaching out from the darkness below. The hand possessed 27 distinct joints. It gently brushed against the pillar of victims, causing a wave of rhythmic snapping to ripple through the entire structure. The ROV's signal was lost shortly thereafter.
Addendum 783B, Exploration Log. Following the discovery of the subterranean chamber, D-209 was equipped with a high-definition body camera, a two-way radio, and a safety tether, and was ordered to enter the sinkhole.
209. I can't even see the bottom. The smell is like a butcher shop that's been left out in the sun.
Control. Proceed, 209. You have the tether. You are safe.
209. The walls, they're white, but they're not rock. They're smooth, like teeth. I'm stepping on something soft.
D-209 began his descent into the thicket. As he moved deeper, the light from the surface faded, replaced by a dull, necrotic luminescence radiating from the walls.
There's someone here. Hey, can you hear me?
Control. Identify the individual.
D-209. It's a woman, or it was. She's wrapped around a column of bone. Her arm goes around it 3 times. Her fingers are as long as my legs. She's looking at me. Is she vocalizing? No. Her jaw it's been snapped back. It's pointing toward her chest. She's blinking. Oh God, she's trying to point at something.
D-209 turned his camera toward the direction the victim was indicating. In the distance, a tall, thin silhouette was visible, standing perfectly still. It wore a hat. D-209. It's him, the crooked man. He's just standing there.
Control. Do not approach. Remain still. 209. He's not moving, but I hear it. The snapping. It's coming from everywhere now. 209's breathing became labored. He reported that the ground beneath him, actually a carpet of intertwined limbs, was beginning to shift. The victims were moving in unison, a slow, undulating crawl toward the center of the chamber.
209! Something's grabbing my legs!
Control. Pull the tether. Extract him now. The extraction team began to winch the tether back at high speed. However, the feed from 209's camera showed that the environment was changing. The thicket was tightening. The elongated limbs of the victims were reaching out, snagging 209's clothes and skin.
D-209, it hurts! It's pulling me apart! Help me!
The camera captured a brief flash of SCP-783. The entity was no longer standing still. It was moving toward D-209 with a horrifying spider-like gait, its limbs snapping and resetting with every step. It reached out a hand that seemed to stretch effortlessly across the gap.
Just as the extraction team pulled D-209's torso from the hole, a loud, wet crack echoed through the cemetery. The tether went slack. When the team hauled in the remainder of the line, they found D-209's harness. It was empty. Inside the harness were 3 meters of what appeared to be human small intestine and a fragment of a femur that had been elongated to twice its original length.
Addendum 783C, Incident Report. 48 hours after the disappearance of D-209, a local resident in Tempsford reported a disturbing growth in their living room. Foundation agents arrived to find a single elongated arm protruding from the floorboards. The arm was 4 meters long and featured 12 elbows.
The arm was identified via DNA analysis as belonging to D209. It was still warm to the touch. It was slowly, rhythmically tapping on the floor as if searching for a rhythm. By the end of the week, 7 more limbs belonging to D209 had manifested in various homes across the village. One was found coiled inside a washing machine. Another was found hanging from a ceiling fan like a decorative streamer. All of them were still alive.
The villagers are no longer allowed to leave their homes after dark, but the Foundation has noticed a new development. The ground in the center of the village has begun to vibrate. The sounds of snapping bone are no longer coming from just the bedrooms. They are coming from the very earth itself. SCP-783 is not just rearranging individuals anymore. It is rearranging the town.
There was a crooked man who walked a crooked mile. He found a crooked sixpence upon a crooked stile. He bought a crooked cat, which caught a crooked mouse, and they all lived together in a little crooked house. But the rhyme forgets to mention the sound of everything you are being broken until you finally fit into his world. If you want to stay updated on the most dangerous anomalies in containment, subscribe and turn on notifications. Don't let the crooked man catch you in the dark. Subscribe now.